Today FM's Dermot and Dave
are receiving the wage subsidy scheme, which sees the government paying a proportion of the wages earned. However, over the weekend, you might have seen a young couple were speaking to the Journal.ie and revealed that they have had their mortgage approval withdrawn by the bank because one of them is availing of the scheme. We're joined by our mortgage expert, Martina Hennessy from Doddl.ie, who can explain all. Firstly, I called you Doodle.ie a few minutes ago, Martina. I'm very sorry.
That's okay, been called worse. Yeah, no problem.
Did you see this story, and how prevalent is it, or was it a bit of a one-off that's kind of been taken out of context and blown out of proportion?
No, I wouldn't say it's a one-off, but I suppose what we're finding at Doddl is that all of the lenders obviously have to do these COVID checks prior to draw down of the mortgage. And that really comes back to the central bank's requirement under the Consumer Protection Code to ensure that the lender or the borrower, when they're taking out the mortgage, that it's still affordable and the product still remains suitable for them. So I suppose that's kind of putting it into the context. It's not the big bag banks trying to pull mortgage approvals as such. So just bearing that in mind as to kind of a prudent approach to lending. The lenders are looking to identify where people have reduced incomes or are in receipt of COVID payments. So what we're finding at Doddl, we haven't had this issue, which I suppose is really great for us in terms of we haven't had the issue of people not being able to draw down their mortgage, but it certainly is there. So the lenders are looking to see, can you sustain the mortgage repayment? So based on the fact that your employer is taking the wage, as availing of the wage subsidy scheme, they're in receipt of the wage subsidy scheme for a reason. So but once that stops, what the banks are trying to identify is, will you still be in receipt of the income they're relying upon for this mortgage and for you to be able to repay it? So it is on market. We work with 7 major lenders. They're all taking a different approach on this. They all have the same requirement, again, under a Consumer Protection Code, to show that the mortgage is affordable for the customer and the product remains suitable. But they're all taking slightly different approaches as to how they deal with that. They will all look at the industry and the risk.
Yeah, I'm not one to defend banks. I've had my fair share of terrible dealings with them. But isn't it better to be in a situation where the banks are going, well, hang on, like, we need to make sure we can lend, as opposed to what it was like, 15 years ago, and it was like, money, who wants money? It's falling out of the sky from drones. Take it all and remortgage everything.
No, and absolutely. And I think that's why I was just trying to call out, I suppose, the basis of what they're trying to do. It's that they're trying to be more sensible or prudent in terms of how they lend. So it's not that they're pulling approvals. This can be a timeline type issue. So the mortgage subsidy scheme was to the end, or the wage subsidy scheme, was to the end of June. That's been extended to the end of August. So it's not that the lenders are pulling approvals necessarily. It's just that there's a timeline issue in that they need to see that income is affordable and that, income is sustainable. So they are being slightly more prudent, and I am never a major defender either, but it's just trying to, I suppose, outline the facts of what they need to establish, so that you can kind of go to your lender or go to your broker or work with your broker to kind of put together your best case to say, this is a temporary reduction in my income. This is the industry that I work in. My employer, get as much information from your employer as you can, or much detail, to show that, the reason we've taken this is because it is a short-term change to our turnover and the circumstances, so we've been entitled to apply for the wage subsidy scheme via revenue. However, we expect that the business is going to continue to,
the truth is, though, that we don't really know. There's a lot of businesses who are hoping to ride out the storm but may not make it.